Я убираю кровь, расчиняюсь снова в тупик. Я відчуваю страх, але мені подобається його смак. Я відкриваю нові відчуття, ніби я ти я. Ніби я ти я. Ніби я ти я. І з тим уже в крові буваємо сил. Я розчиняюсь тобі, наче рідкий дим, наче рідкий дим. І з тим уже в крові буваємо сил. Я розчиняюсь тобі, наче рідкий дим, наче рідкий дим. Улітай, там де нас більше нема. Скільки ще треба крові, щоб згадати, що живе. Я відчуваю страх, але мені подобається його смак. Я відкриваю нові відчуття, ніби я ти я. Ніби я ти я. Ніби я ти я. І з тим уже в крові набуваємо сил. Я розчиняюсь тобі, наче рідкий дим, наче рідкий дим.
Hello! Hey guys, how's it going? Oh, Lord Almighty. Welcome to the usual bullshit. So, here. Summer is almost over. Thankfully, I will begin recovering from what is essentially a reverse seasonal affective. The heat's starting to go down, the humidity's starting to go down. I can feel little bits of my energy coming back. So, it's very good. Next year, I have to somehow have the money to afford having nonstop AC so that this nice little 3-month slowdown doesn't happen every time. But it slows everything down. Okay. So, welcome, as usual. If you've never been here, well, then welcome to whatever this is going to be today. Everything I usually talk about, everything I do on the streams, is generally unguided, off the cuff, and just kind of pulling shit out of my ass most of the time. I usually have a few ideas coming in, especially on Tuesday. Tuesday is Topical Tragedy Tuesday, in which I usually have something that I've been thinking about or something that came up recently that I find interesting. Something did come up. I had something else in mind, but I thought this was more interesting. And something did come up, and I want to discuss it a little bit. And if anybody wants to do the same, you can do so in chat, or you can, I don't know, put comments into the VOD if you watch it as a VOD, or you could jump on the VC on the Zoivoid Discord, jump into the Angst live stream, and you can talk to me there. It's up to you how you want to handle that, your autonomy and all that. But let me get some background tunes here. It's a little too vacant. Helps me think, to be honest, just to have something, just a little something going on. The first video for music pops up. 9 hours of da 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 be 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 e e e. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna go with that right now. Sounds amusing, but not for the moment. Okay, let's go with something nice and lengthy, so I don't have to worry about like having to switch audio or whatever the hell. Something like this sounds cool, I think. We'll find out. We'll find out if this is suitable. That's fine to me. Alright, so it's loud. I'll have to turn it down. What I wanted to kind of yammer about today is the topic of basically understanding. Ow, it's like cotton. Here's cotton. Understanding sort of neurotypical motivation, neurotypical motive, aspects of communication, things like that. And I'm not here to to teach you that, obviously. I'm here to talk about why it's important to learn it. It's important to navigate it. As the people that listen to me know, I'm fairly convinced that most schizoids, or most people with schizoid personality disorder, if not the vast majority, as in 90% or higher, are neurodivergent to a significant degree. So I usually put them under the camps of autism, or I guess what would be closer to the schizo-spectrum, or what some people in its most extremes refer to as schizotypal. Basically a split between divergent abstract intuitive thought and divergent autistic concrete intuitive thought. And kind of your it reminds me of that other term. What do they call it? Mode network, primary mode network. Anyway. But in any case, I want to talk about why it's important for people like ourselves to be able to comprehend, understand, and navigate, and not judge, and not essentially miscast and misunderstand a lot of neurotypical motivation and the way they approach so much of life, and also what we have to kind of be like good faith about, because I see a lot of default mode network things. It's just had that thought. It's just some loose associative thing in my brain. Thanks. Appreciate that, Khalil. So, the idea is, well, first I'll bring up, when I see a lot of schizoids on the server, I see them in comments, I see them in other places, Reddit, whatever. Most of them, of course, as usual, displaying all their great schizo or autist traits and the way they approach life and view it and take it apart and introspect, whatever. And one thing they do, one mistake I think that's often made, is they kind of make the same mistake that neurotypical people do when it comes to the neurodivergent. It's an application of ethics or ideas or motivations that makes sense in our sort of framework, and then cast aspersions, judgments, and various other things, sometimes associated and pejoratives, to the type of behavior they show, the type of behavior they display, the motivations that essentially give them the dopamine and everything else that makes them chug along, just like everybody else. But oftentimes I hear it talked about as if those things are either lesser than, uninspired, unimportant, don't make sense. It's mentally ill. They're crazy. And it's really interesting to hear, what essentially most may cast as the mentally ill, talking about how, and I don't consider them mentally ill, but talking about how neurotypical people are the actual ones that are mentally ill, right? And I get the catharsis that it comes with. I get the idea of like they call me, they say we're crazy or this or that, or we're weird, but Jesus Christ, look what they do. They're insane. They're the insane ones, right? I'd like to believe to some degree, we're all the insane ones. In many ways, there are no sane people. In a more broad regard, that's what I'm saying. Right. So it just comes down to what is considered atypical in the mind of the person witnessing it, right? What they consider what normality for that reality sort of perspective that that person possesses, right? So the way an autist perceives many aspects of reality, what is important, the objective and the subjective, how and not like they see a different thing than me, like objectively, but how they approach the subjective and how they subjectively approach the objective, what they do with that information, what they place value upon over other things, right? And I think the resentment of the neurodivergent toward the neurotypical is pretty valid, because it is really difficult to live in that world, right? Where you're essentially having to either, like in my case, manufacture a mask, or in other cases, remain as quiet, as unnoticed as possible, because of the consequences that come with it sometimes. And so on and so forth, right? And so that kind of resentment builds up. So I get that. But how do we kind of rise above just being resentful? And then feeling like, well, they don't bother understanding me, so why the fuck should I try to understand them? What's the point? Why should I give a shit about, what they care about, what they think? They never give a shit about, my differing motivations and interests and philosophical, political, ethical, moral perspectives that would be considered in some respect or another more idiosyncratic, not necessarily the position, but like the approach or the reasons for it, or maybe they see your high degree of openness and metacognition as like a fault or a problem, or the question too much, or that you're too this, you're too that, you're too skeptical, you're too cynical, you're too, you know, you don't care about the right thing, so on and so forth. Right? We start doing that kind of stuff to them, and I think we're doing ourselves a disservice. I really do. And I'm not even just talking about like on like a, oh, you know, we should rise above it, guys. Like we shouldn't be doing that kind of shit because that's how it feels on the other end, right? Of all that. No, that'd be silly. That would be me invalidating what I think is a significant degree of righteous indignation that's perfectly valid, all things considered. No, I'm saying you have a lot to gain from it. This music's funny. I don't know what this is, but I like it. It's not amusing, but let me lower it a little bit. An album from like 7 years ago that I just suddenly stumbled across. Anyway. And so yeah, understanding, like truly understanding what motivates a lot of what it is, and not just understanding intellectually, right? Like on just like a outside observer 100% only type way. I'm talking more about expanding our own metacognitive capacity that most neurodivergent people had to develop because they had to navigate the world and everything in a lot of other ways, right? But oftentimes I'll see a lot of ND people make the mistake of also applying what's rational, what makes sense, what is logical in their view to neurotypical sort of events and occurrences and responses and behaviors. All right, I did this a lot for years, in my 20s especially, teen years, 20s, and it didn't really help me at all. It didn't really do anything but make me more resentful or more isolated or more convinced that the world had nothing for me of any value that I can actually aspire to or accomplish, which I now believe is incorrect. One example of a friend that does this, and they're working on it themselves, and good on them, because I have things I have to work on. So anybody that's willing to work on, the skill sets that they're missing, always some respect there. They would say, I would say something about like some event that's happening, that's obviously being guided and controlled by, well, for lack of a better phrase, what would be more neurotypical population, right? Because the majority, by many stretches, and the response would often be a neurodivergent response, which is fine, but it would be a response. It would be a neurodivergent response coming from a neurodivergent understanding of the set of circumstances that led up to, motivated, controlled, and a lot of the times culminated into what is occurring, whatever event, situation, whether local or national or global or institutional or what happened, right? So then I'll have to say, like, no. Like, there's all these other considerations about, what is rational to the average person that is, like, autistic like you or schizo like me. Like, it's just what makes sense to them, or schizoid for that matter, and our defenses and our traits on top of everything else. And then I have to kind of reconceptualize it, and I have to kind of re-explain it, maybe use some metaphors, and then, okay, yeah, I can see that. But, and they can see it as well, but then they realize there's something not clicking here. There's something not quite clicking. Like so many other things click, right? But why doesn't this? Why is this so difficult? Growing up, I would see, other teenagers and people in their 20s and family members and stuff make all these like wild mistakes, right? Like to me, like I would see them do stuff like, I don't know, put themselves in a compromised situation because of some interpersonal or social volition, inspiration giving, reward, or whatever, right? And in my 20s, I would see that and I'd be like, well, that's fucking stupid, right? I would just look and I'd be like, well, that's dumb. That's not going to do anything. It's just going to cause more problems for them. They're what an idiot. What a big fucking dummy. That's not really useful at all. And in some situations, I get it. It's cathartic, but how does it provide? How does it do anything? And then if it was somebody that like I had some care for to some minor degree or other or whatever, and I decided to say, hey, that's not a good idea to do, I would still be approaching it, even if I tried to kind of sugarcoat it. I would be sugarcoating it in these sort of superficial ways, right? I'm not really understanding why I have to sugarcoat certain things a certain way. I just know that I did. And so sometimes I would. And it wouldn't really be helpful. And then I would go for the direct approach. And that's a very neurodivergent approach to that problem and understanding. So I'll make assumptions or, have values about this or that, what matters and what doesn't, and what should be weighed against what. And I was like, my weight measuring was off, right? Because I was using my perspective. And I was essentially dismissing and ignoring the weights and value systems or the weights and measure system that exists within the more normative driven and neurotypical mind about stuff. And of course, when I say that, I don't mean lesser. I just mean that's the majority. That's what exists. That's what's common. Common does not, again, equate to lesser than. It's another mistake I've seen a lot of schizoids do. Right? It's like, oh, well, it's what everybody does, and it's stupid. It's like, I'm pretty sure you do some pretty stupid shit. It's just, you have a better way of convincing yourself it's not stupid. Or you have a lot of reasons for why it's excusable. Right? And growing up neurodivergent, you're going to hear people tell you a lot of your things are stupid. A lot of what you think is important doesn't matter. They might not say it in all those words, but their actions will show this. But you also have to consider this. You have to consider, is this maliciousness? Is this coming from a place of malevolence and maliciousness? That's another mistake a lot of schizoids will do. They'll assume that. They'll assume that such an action is so cruel or so dismissive or so negligent that it must be intentional. It must be some kind of cynical, like, selfish, self-aggrandizing thing the person is doing. Right? I hear a lot of this. This approach, this thought, it's not very useful at all. It doesn't accomplish anything but make you bitter, usually. And it makes you unable to solve fairly simple problems for some of the people in your life without too much effort. Or not solve, but help. Which could ultimately, be useful to you in philosophical sense, ethical, moral sense, or also, for your internal world and how you build that internal world, and being able to kind of find ways to use your internal world to influence the external world around you. Hunk Steady, I was just thinking this tonight. My outside doesn't portray present, show what's happening on my inside. The other side of the coin, I misinterpret, overthink, and get paralyzed by overanalyzation, preventing me from engaging in the encounter in real time, thus alienated, misunderstood, disengaged. Yeah, Withers in Twitch, Angst now bootlicking normie boots, yeah. I like how there's no one in Twitch, and you're like, hey, chat, and there's like 12 people on the YouTube chat. There's like no chat. You're the only chat in Twitch, Withers, right now. It's pretty funny. So, no, honk steady. Yeah. It can further cause feelings of alienation. But, you know, they're still going to be there because you still are going to be, in many situations, you're going to be an outsider. You're going to be not part of the tribe. You don't say the right things. You don't do the right things. And if you do say it and do the right things, you're faking it. And if you don't fake it, you have problems, right? Sure. Yeah, I get that. Right? There's also a different approach, right? You can be useful, productive, and the way that you understand the ways you may be able to influence positively the environment around you using your kind of atypical thinking. But the only way to properly do that is to have actually do your homework, have a good understanding of what motivates the average person, and also do that while not looking down on it, without, like I said, casting aspersions and misattributions to the importance of what they value. Because even if you understand on an intellectual level, if you can't understand it beyond that, it's not going to be very useful. If anything, it can be counterproductive. Now, that's a lesson I definitely had to learn over the years. Now that I've learned it, it makes everything so much easier. Right? And I'm not just saying because, oh, they like me more. It's like, no, because I can be myself, but at the same time, I know how to understand, and not invalidate what to me feels immediately, intuitively like crazy or weird or atypical to me in my thinking, my understanding, right? Yeah, and my friend that I talked to, they're kind of also coming. They're like on this arc, sort of, at the moment, and it makes a significant difference because it lets you have a stronger impact. Although, you know, I understand why you might not care, but it lets you have a stronger impact on the external world around you. And it allows you to have a little more influence on how the external world behaves around you and navigates you. And you navigate it. I think having that skill set's pretty fucking important. Right? Like, you could literally use this to, I don't want to say it because it sounds kind of bad, but to like maximize not your solitude, but, you know, your downtime, your time that isn't being stressed by like all these social preoccupations you don't care about. Solitude maxing, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Solitude maxing and isolation pilled. But my point is this lack of understanding and this miscasting of, even though like I understand why you would be kind of resentful of the people around you for it, it's not doing you any favors at all. Like, at fucking all. And it doesn't even require, like, necessarily, oh, you just gotta mask better, yo. You just gotta fucking know how to be like them and be like them, idiot. No, that's fucking terrible. On a surface thinking, Winter says, on a surface thinking level, I want to be excluded and independent, but also there's a few moments in therapy where I was exploring the concepts of belonging and being included in my physical anxiety symptoms like shaking hands, tight chest, shallow breath, breathing significantly reduced. So on an emotional level, I definitely do want to be included, apparently. Well, I know what that means. Like, I don't know. That's like, okay, well, that's your experience. But like the way I experience it is I have less anxiety because I'm not constantly paranoid that the next thing I say or do is going to like cause all kinds of fucking issues. Right? Because when you don't understand some of this shit, you end up approaching things with the people around you in the world around you, whether it's work or school or whatever. You end up approaching them haphazardly because you don't understand the environment. You don't actually have a lay of the land. Right. And having that lay of the land really helps you get around. You need a map, right? Merely knowing the locations is not enough, right? You have to know how to plan accordingly for that trip. And that's kind of what a lot of the times for me, the way a lot of neurodivergent people, schizoids in this case, I'm talking because that's my own experience. I think they often have the map, but yeah, they don't have the tools. They don't have the equipment. They don't have the rations for their quest, for their adventure, for their travels. They don't have enough gas in their car. They don't have the right type of gas or the right type of vehicle. Right? You just know where everything is, but you're still getting lost. Right? It's preparation. It's required. And I think one of the most important aspects of preparation when it comes to this metaphor, I'm just making up on the spot and it's probably terrible, is expanding one's metacognitive capacity toward the people that I understand have, whether intentionally or not, usually not, caused you a significant amount of harm and trauma and pain. Well, same shit, I just said it again. It's hard to expand one's metacognition toward what feels like, I'm not saying, because it's much more complicated, but what feels like is the perpetrator of your often miserable days. And I think it's reasonable to do as well, even on like I get why you would be kind of bitter level, because honestly, think about the world that they inhabit, right? Well, we understand the world we inhabit, right? You're an autist or a schizo, or most schizoids are one of those, or some aspect of it. I'm not going to get back into that. So they know what I'm talking about. They know what I'm talking about when I say we know what it's like to live in this world. There's a reason. Isolation, living like a hermit sometimes, or emotional disconnect, or so on and so forth. It's been a tool, great use. But think about the world they inhabit. And the kind of decisions, the kind of perspectives it would shape, right? I've spoken about this in the past, and I've kind of said how it's interesting that the average neurotypical person, unless they're just high in openness, it's just like, like anybody can be high in openness. It's like it's a skill some people have to develop. Some people have it more naturally, whatever. But having some degree of openness, obviously not like anything in excess can be a problem. But besides neurotypical people with a high degree of openness, most neurotypical people's scope for metacognitive thinking is very much tied in with the interpersonal. That's where it is. It's just completely enmeshed. And part of the reason that's the case is because, well, it's essentially our world, right? They take up the vast majority of the human population. The people in positions of power, businesses, everything that's institutional is going to obviously be catering to the common denominator. And when it comes to spectrum-based sort of cognition common denominator, it's going to be right in that center. And what is more in the center for a human being between the highly abstract and the highly concrete than interpersonal relationships? It's kind of crazy. If you think about that for a minute, you might know what I'm talking about. It's not great at either very abstract thinking and long-term thinking, or very immediate present-based problem solution thinking of the more concrete world. It's not that great at those extremes and problems, or solving problems at those levels, at those places. It's actually pretty fucking terrible at it, right? And they're making decisions based on that common consensus, which makes them pretty decent at navigating the world they've created, although it's exploited heavily in horrible ways. In fact, I would argue, I'm not going to go into this, but I've made arguments that there's a possibility, and this is just a conspiracy, but it's an interesting one. It's a fun one. To think that the reason the world is so at odds sometimes is because there would be some kind of, I wouldn't say an equilibrium, but there would be some, but more malevolent, neurodivergent individuals. And psychopaths are technically neurodivergent. Individuals are kind of manipulating and exploiting neurotypical motivations, and because they're so easy to manipulate, because of that very reason. Because when you're the majority, your ability to think outside your immediate needs and your intuitions is going to be it's going to be narrower. And when something's narrower, it's a lot easier to manipulate. So I always thought that was a funny thought. Like, I always envisioned like some fucking ridiculous, like, anime fucking style cosmic battle on Earth between, and I'm just being ridiculous here. I'm just being silly. Between, like, the autists and the schizos that are, like, obviously, like, consistently set aside or pushed down by the vast majority of society. Not just because we're, like, weird and scary, but because the psychos at the top are, like, those are the only real threats. Those are the threats to our world. Like, to their world, their power and control. The threats are the fucking weirdo fucking neurodivergents that can have these highly concrete, highly abstract ways of thinking and problem solution, because that bypasses a lot of the machinations and exploitative things. It's kind of funny to think about in many ways. Like think about not just, well, if you want to think about the the what's the word? This trope, like the stereo, well, not even stereotypical, because serial killers do this plenty, but the more charismatic psychopaths, right, and serial killers. Whose framework? Oh, my daughter's here. Hold on one second. All right, I'm back. Yeah, but what I was saying is that, like, yeah, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Like, when you think about those tropes, you know, the serial killer, the psychopath, whatever, you know, Ted Bundy, you know, and other types of psychopaths too, right? Even if you're talking, even when you're talking about like a more neurodivergent psychopath, right? Maybe a schizo-psychopath, and I've gone into that territory, and that's really interesting to me. Though I'd argue there might be autistic psychopaths, but my point is the framework that they base their understanding of human psychology, how to approach it, how to navigate it, how to manipulate it, how to get what they want and how they want it at the costs that, you know, would be the most reasonable, so that they don't get caught or, you know, faulted. It's gonna be their developed metacognitive understanding of the average person, the neurotypical person, and what motivates them, and what they're essentially emotionally subjugated to, or whatever. That's crazy. That's a fun thought. That the psychopaths are like the puppet masters, controlling all, like, the, you know, like the more neurotypical people in various positions of power, you know, through politics, and, social, interpersonal motivation, status, all this shit. Like, that's a fun thought. Like, they're just like sitting at, like, you know, sitting at a table going, all right, what are these fucking, what can we do to exploit these fucking normies? Let's fucking use them, fucking cattle, you know, like that kind of weird, like, intellectual, highly metacognitive, but used for, like, selfish and hedonistic and so on reasons. I like that. I always found that funny, because it kind of explains why the autists and the schizo are like the most immune to propaganda, and or push back on, like, status quo and things like that, like, a lot more, because like the motive, like the rewards and the things that are being provided for, like, falling in line are not very appealing. so you have a tendency to have very different, you know, reasons to be like, that sounds bad. Seeing what chat's saying. Let's see here. Winter, what do you mean by map? Like an emotional understanding of social interactions, interpersonal experience, others? It's totally different. Well, no, just having, like, the ability to like, that is valid. That is a valid way of existing, and I have to be respectful and navigate it because it's very real, and I can't dismiss it or view it as lesser than, or see it like, you know, hamsters running on a hamster wheel. No, it's not very handy. Grace skits. Neuro outliers have the objective ability to perceive the desires of the common denominatorial, enable the atyps to exploit the norms. Well, I'm fine exploiting some cattle after this. Oh my god, Withers. I like the idea that I've noticed my refusal to kind of submit like normal people do, and my preference of staying detached from overbearing, over-demanding people really pisses those types of people off. No, but that's what is funny. That's what's really funny, Winter, is that sort of behavior. What kind of people does that really upset? People in usually like I guess it would be like, for lack of a better phrase, more neurotypical narcissistic people. Because like I've had that happen plenty of times where somebody that's kind of has some malignant narcissistic traits will like attempt to manipulate me with certain types of like social shaming or like stuff like that. Like very strategic, very like I am gonna position you in a, and it doesn't work because I don't give a shit or I'm indifferent, and then that really upsets them, makes them very mad. And they'll like break out of character sometimes, and they'll be like, "What's wrong with you?" Like in a like angry, confused way. They're like, "What's wrong with you?" Because they're thinking, this is an anomaly. This person's not playing. This is not the game. This is not how the game is played. And I'm not even like, if I were to just be aggressive and be like, you know what, fuck you, like actually mad or offended, some people are capable enough to navigate that, manipulate and exploit that. But they have a tough time trying to manipulate and exploit. No, that's wrong. I don't care. Oh, okay, I don't care. I'm a degenerate. I'm a bad person. I should be ashamed. No, I'm not. That's stupid. I'm fine. Leave me alone. I don't care about your position of power that you perceive over me. Do whatever you want. Punish me. Be stupid. Like, if that's like, oof, that's triggering shit. Right. Like even if like in the workplace, right here, here's a good example of like when it would be useful in something like the workplace. Hold on a sec. I just realized that I'm done, and there's like 2 other people here that probably want to talk. Hold on. Hey guys, sorry about that. Saintus Withers, welcome. But in the workplace, it's super useful because, okay, say there's a coworker. Let's just say you have a coworker that's just like a real fucking piece of shit. But they're charismatic, they're capable, they know how to play the game, right? They know how to do everything, right? Right? They're that person. And you approach the problem by talking to your supervisor or whatever whoever you need to speak to attempt to solve the problem in your very kind of unconventional, atypical way. Right? You're like, well, look at the steps and look at the, like, if it's more like obviously like you're like, well, look, there's this and this, and I have evidence, and if I show you this and look at this behavior, obviously there's no like right? Like if you do it like that, a lot of times you're just gonna fuck yourself over pretty badly. Even though in my mind I go, that's what makes sense. What the fuck is wrong with everyone, right? I get that. I 100% get that. Because I still think it. I still think this is fucking crazy and stupid. I don't understand. Why the fuck is everyone not seeing what I'm seeing? It's right there. Why can't they see it? It's right fucking there, right? I can see it. They're having trouble because you're not seeing something else, right? Now, you understand some of these dynamics, and not just, like I said, you don't understand them just in a, oh, I get how they function. These are the steps. This is how it works. No. It's coming to terms with the fact that that feeling of that's stupid and doesn't make sense is wrong. And I'm not saying that they're right. I'm just saying approaching it like that is just gonna fuck you over. So it's better to go, well, what's the best approach to handling the situation? Is thinking they're stupid and wrong and crazy and what's wrong with these normies, is that really gonna, it's not gonna do shit. You can feel it. I'm not saying don't feel it. Keep that in there. Keep that hate in your heart. You need to. But understand that that doesn't fucking matter. And when they look at you, they see the same thing. They think you're fucking stupid. But the only difference is they look at the world around them and they go, the world agrees. You're fucking stupid. Right? And that's not even necessarily their fault. That's what I'm saying. It's not their fault. How could they have thought anything else? There's no reason to have metacognated out of their present existence in a variety of ways. Why would they need to? You wouldn't need to. If the world was more like you wouldn't need to. You would just be vibing. And if the interpersonally focused, status focused thinking and neurotypical kind of motivations and feelings and connectivity of what it is to be friends and love and romantic relationships in the way that they perceive them and the way they conceive of them, if they were the minority and you were in their shoes and you never developed that metacognitive capacity that you had to because of the amount of hardship and difficulty you had to confront while navigating the world, you might just be doing the same fucking thing. You ever think of that? You might have not developed that skill as expansively as, because you didn't have to. You would have just been like, what's this person going on about like, they really wanted like somebody to like hug them all the time and like kiss them all the time and tell them that they're like valid all the time and do actions like making them feel appreciated a lot, like, and they need this to be sustained. You're mentally ill. You need to go to a hospital right now. Get this fucking guy out of here. Get this fucking guy out of here. What's wrong with this guy? Put him in the sanatorium with all the other weird fucking people that need each other, like in this fucked up way about like, oh, like we gotta validate each other's existence all the time interpersonally. Like, put that fucking guy in the sanatorium. We'll give him a lobotomy later. Fucking weirdos. The only reason you might be able to not think that way is because you have to develop that capacity and that skill. Or even if you're like not very harm, like even if you want to avoid harm, you would still probably treat them like, oh, they're just mentally ill people. We have to be kind to them. We have to understand them. They don't understand the way the world really works and what's really going on. These neurotypicals, we have to, like, you know, they put them in special classes and you know what? Let's start ABA. Let's start ABA for neurotypical people. That's what would happen. And we would like help them learn how to deal with their problems better, to navigate the world in a more autistic or schizo fashion. That's what I'm saying. If it was all autists, the autists would probably just be handling the minority, what we call normies right now, or neurotypicals or whatever. They'd be handling it in their own autistic way of, we have to deal with this like anomaly that's a problem that's getting in the way of what really matters. So, write the legislation. I know you guys are joking, some of you in there, but like I get the humor. I get it. It's coming from a place of just like frustration, isn't it? Get it? So useful. Laugh. I mean, make the jokes, right? But actually approaching life that way, Man, you're in for a bad time. It's gonna stay bad. It's gonna stay bad. But you might think I'm wrong, and that's okay. I gladly like to hear any rebuttals regarding this. You can DM me. I don't care. You can email me. I love other perspectives. Push back on. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's a couple little factors here and there that I didn't consider. All right, remember, there's I get worried when Withers is the one telling me that I'm doing really good. That concerns me. That concerns me. So if anybody else, please, no, I don't. I can be like, oh yeah, whatever. People agree, don't agree, whatever. But when Withers agrees, guys, am I the baddie? Am I the baddie? Kidding. And no, not that kind of baddie. But like, guys, that's an old reference to like a. But yes, we are the baddie. We're not the baddie. No one is the baddie. The point is, no one is the baddie. It's just all confusing, and a lot of people are making a lot of poor decisions. I feel like a lot of neurodivergent people make poor decisions on how to handle the reality of the situation, and a lot of neurotypical make poor decisions based on their assumption of what reality is and how it should function. So, yeah. Orthus in Twitch says, personally, I really enjoy going mask off on people on very rare occasions, just beating down someone one this way. Yeah, Orthus, yeah, I mean, I get the catharsis. You have a lot to be resentful of, bud. You have a lot to be bitter about. But it's just kind of baseless, pointless revenge. And if you want to partake in that, hey, that's your autonomy, bud. And I've done it. But man, it might feel good. It doesn't produce anything useful. It's like a hedonistic pleasure. But as far as using that kind of, like, you can more effectively deal with toxic neurotypical people more efficiently with a better skill set regarding how they think and experience things and not invalidating it. And you can navigate kind neurotypical people in a way that's beneficial to you and them, while still recognizing that there's some stuff about you that they're going to have way more trouble understanding. And knowing the language and knowing the limits of how much they can digest, how quickly, being able to gauge that person. You are an alien in their world. Only we realize that aliens are cool. They think aliens are scary. Oh, it's worth about as much as a well-timed Uno reverse card. Yeah, but you imagine that. But this is what I mean, Horthus. Imagine an Uno reverse card where, like, they're like, you can, like, the conflict could be avoided. Like, where they'll still be wrong and surrender, if you will, without, like, you know, muttering under their breath, "I'm gonna get back at him one day." You know? Not, I'm obviously, like, being theatrical, but, like, It feels like the difference between like busting it in a reverse card and just being like, good game. And if they get mad, just be like, it's cool, man. We don't gotta play anymore. But you still got the reverse card. You still won, right? Or whatever you want to call it. Instead of just being like, boom, universe card, eat shit, fucker. Like, you know, it's just, yeah, it feels really good to just be like, eat shit, fucker, universe. Especially if they piss you off or you're bitter about them or something. But then they're just gonna be like, man, fuck that guy. Hey guys, did you hear about this guy? This guy's a real fucking asshole. And then now you got all these other people want to fucking play Uno with you. And you're not gonna be able to reverse card all of them. Because if you believe you can, that's just like not narcissism, ego. No, it's grandiosity. That's some grandiose shit got going on. And if that's the game you want to play fucking Topical in your fucking head, then do it. Oh man. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. The normies are aliens to us, but we have the capacity to be like, oh, aliens are cool. We just got to figure things out. And there's ways to do it. We have to put in way more work. I agree. But it's still better than the work we have to put in if we fucking don't. And they see aliens and they go, they're weird, aliens are strange. It takes them a lot longer to like be able to be okay with aliens on their term. Like why do you think, okay, look, this is what I mean about like how focused the interpersonal world is for them. Why do you think it is that when you can have a neurotypical family, tribe, whatever, and one of their people has like a weird condition, right? Right? Or weird as in like abnormal, not as in like negative, like pejorative way. And then all of a sudden, is when it's their brother, when it's their sister, when it's mom, when it's dad, when it's best friend, when it's my neighbor that's really nice, and his son has, Down syndrome. All of a sudden, oh man, I want to learn more about Down syndrome. Oh, I want to think about it more. Oh, I want to expand my horizons about Down syndrome, because there's an interpersonal connection now. I don't know a single fucking person with Down syndrome in real life that I talk to or have in my life. I'm still really interested in learning about things like Down syndrome. My reasons are not interpersonal. They're very different. Very atypical. The good thing, I gotta say one good thing about things. Look, everyone's gonna shit on me for this, but TikTok, as much brain rot as it causes, man, it's doing some good ass shit. And let me explain what I mean before you guys go, what the fuck? This guy likes this Chinese TikTok shit. No, let me explain why TikTok is a boon to humanity. Now, this iteration, not so good. This version of it could be improved significantly in many ways. TikTok is a boon to the average humanity because it expands the interpersonal network in a way that allows you to put charm and interest and riz into fucking things that would normally just be ignored or looked down upon or looked as alien and strange. Sometimes that's not so good. Man, my fucking hair's all... Okay. Jesus Christ. Sometimes that's not so good. Because it can normalize some pretty not so great shit. But usually, even regular people catch on to that. And that just becomes like a little fucking fringe thing. But when it comes to something like harm reduction, let's just say, like, I fucking guarantee you, in the last few years of fucking nonstop TikTok, There's a much better, as superficial as it can sometimes be, there's a much better understanding of something like trauma, of something like therapy, even though psychology, uh, philosophy. Now, I get it. It's the most superficial version of a lot of that stuff, but it opens some fucking doors. Don, that's not that's because your family are assholes. Don, that's because your family's a bunch of fucking assholes. Unless you're an asshole and you have those things. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you're an asshole, Don. Maybe you have those things and you're an asshole. But my point is, um, they're just assholes, right? If you have decent openness, kind human beings in your family, and you have like a condition, and it's recognized because they need that kind of thing, and it's something that the doctors go, this is a real thing, and that's it's not some closed-minded fucking piece of shit type parenting, then they're gonna be like, I need to learn more about this. I really care about this. And sometimes it's gonna be like very mishandled, but that's based on like the information that's available. Hence, thankfully there's less parents doing it, but putting kids in like weird archaic forms of ABA. Supposedly a lot of the more modern ABAs improve in quality and whatever, blah blah blah. It's actually like some ABA sort of. I wish they would just change the fucking name, considering the connotations. But that there are some groups that do this kind of work that are actually integrating the neurodivergent model and idea, right? Instead of just, it's like, oh, let's get autistic kids to stop stimming weird. I'm exaggerating, but like, and make them do stims that are just like more socially acceptable. It's kind of like some groups are trying to like make that a lot better, take away that kind of shit. And so, but yeah. That's actually what they do. Well, which one, Zen? Because the neurodivergence model has not always been, and it still isn't really enacted in all forms of ABA and institutions that support and stims. That's actually what they do. I don't know what that means. I know autistic people stim. Wait. Got a point. Can you imagine if they did take interest? I'm confused. I guess I got really confused. Maybe you guys are talking about something else. I got like, if they stop them from stimming, they just find less efficient, shittier stims that they hide. They're still gonna stim. They're just gonna be all like fucking hidden and nervous wrecks about anybody catching them stimming. And they're gonna have a lot of shame associated to it. Cool, but but nobody could see them stimming, and they're more socially acceptable. Rad. Right? It's like, nah, that's not the game we want to play. That's a shit game. Super shit game. It's like, oh, how about we just educate people on what stimming is, and if it's fucking harmless, shut the fuck up and deal with it. It's not that big a deal. Now, if it's something like screaming or making like if fucking making noises or something, okay, cool. Let's see what we can do about that. Let's see if we can find a replacement that's still something they're comfortable with, that isn't like make yelping or fucking making a noise if they have some other kind of condition or issue or whatever. Because stimming is not exclusive to just like autism. Like ADHD people fucking essentially stim. Like because of it's just energy and nervousness and anxiety and all sorts of shit over factors that they're dealing with in their head and around them, and their subconscious and their sensory shit. Like it's foot tapping fucking. I always have some shit in my hand. The more like riled up I get, I'm just like. You know? Angst and Nutter confirmed. Yeah, didn't you guys know I'm just fapping the whole time every stream? I'm just kidding. Okay, but all right, guys. Anyway, I think I'm done. I'm tired. Oh, I was thinking of the other kind of nut. I just realized. Like, yeah, you fucking nut. Yeah, fucking nut. Yeah. I forgot about that. I forgot about that variation. I just wasn't. I can't imagine why Weathers would be using the word nutter in that way. You know, like it's just didn't really put two and two together there. Like if Withers said that bloody guy would think, what happened to him? Why is he bloody? Used to be restless leg, now it's restless toes, knuckle cracks. Yep. So yeah, man, if somebody needs to fucking do this, let them fucking do it. Who gives a shit? But the person who's doing this also needs to understand and not give a shit about people being dicks about you doing this. Because that's the fucking world. And sure, there could be like efforts to be like, hey, don't bully people, stop that. Fine. But just know that's a type of education and understanding that should be given to these people. It's like, oh no, be yourself, but just understand the world is pretty cruel. But there are kind people out there, but you're going to come across some assholes. They're going to laugh at you and turn you into a lol cow on their local side of the internet. Move on. You got better shit to do than worry about them making fun of you for the stim. And I'm obviously, like, I'm not just talking specifically about stimming, but, you know, I'm expanding it in my mind, at least, to, like, a variety of other neurodivergent behaviors and things. It's kind of funny. I'm going to end the stream, but one thing I find pretty amusing is that when, and this is just my opinion, this is my thought, this is my hot take, fucking armchair bullshit, like anything I say is. When there is neurotypical people, sorry, not neurotypical, neurodivergent people that are pampered, that are protected, that are coddled, that are constantly reaffirmed all the time, that anybody who thinks that what you do is weird and strange, they're bad people and they're bad and it's bad and they should stop and they need to stop. It's kind of interesting because I feel like those type of neurodivergent people end up developing far less metacognitive skills and understanding of like the world as it actually exists, and it fucks them over pretty bad. And then they can only live on the internet, only in the bubbles that are safe. It's not good, man. Some bad shit. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys, for being here. Thank you for supporting my just being here. If, in fact, you want to support me, the best way to do is Patreon, PayPal. Tertiary best way would be Twitch. Just give Twitch subs. They actually pay out properly. My YouTube channel's demonetized on purpose. I demonetized it. I had it monetized, and I'm like, fuck this. I hate it. So I demonetized it. And I just rely on Patreon and PayPal stuff now. So no ad revenue or anything like that. Not like I was getting much, but none of that shit coming this way. Fuck ads, man. Now they put ads on monetized or channels that aren't even monetized, I think. Fucking bullshit. Keep using those ad blockers, guys. Fuck that noise. And I know Twitch has ads, but like, oh, God. I don't really rely on Twitch views very much. Honestly, part of the reason... Okay, here, I'll be honest, guys. I was thinking about just jumping off ship on Twitch. Like, I just don't care anymore. But the only thing keeping me there is there's like 7 or 8 subs. And like that's still cash I can use to pay the gas. Or to like pay for a subscription that I use to like I don't know. Like I have to pay like every quarter I have to pay a few hundies to like keep this like NPO that I keep believing I'm gonna make happen one day, but paperwork and bureaucracy keeps shitting down my throat. But okay, still got him. But anyway, yeah, I'm dealing with another problem with that stuff, but I'll navigate it. It's just a pain in the ass. Because California, in this case, it's California shit. What's better, Patreon or PayPal? PayPal's more direct, and it's one time, unless you decide to in the future. Patreon's more like gradual and consistent. So I don't know. The cool thing is if you're on the server and you join my Patreon, you get a little garden hermit thingy, name tag thingy. There's like it's funny. There's like channels that are just for the garden hermits. Nobody uses them. I can't think of a single thing to use them for. Like I don't want to paywall something actually useful, so that's gross. And I can't think of anything that schizoids would want, because when I asked even the people in Patreon, like, what do you guys want? What would be cool? All of them are just like, I don't know, I don't care. Just, just keep doing your thing. And I'm like, okay. Who takes more of a cut? Well, yeah, it's about the same. As long as you avoid Apple, it's not gonna be that much. It's not gonna be that much different. I'll be honest. Yeah, it's gonna be kind of the same shit. It depends on the month. Sometimes Patreon's like cut is low. It fluctuates. Sometimes it'll be a little lower, a little higher, depending on reasons. But yeah, anyway, I don't want to talk about monies. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Peace out, and just remember, if you want to hang out on the server to watch me play stupid video games that I like, or something like that, because I'm currently stuck on some dumb achievements I'm working on, you may join me. You don't have to talk. You can just sit there and watch me play and complain and bitch and moan about this or that, and also usually by the end of the night have a few shots of vodka in me. And so, yep, you're more than welcome to hang out. And if you have questions about Zoid shit or whatever, and you want to hang out to ask some questions about that, as long as I'm not playing something I really have to concentrate on, I can still talk. But try to keep the conversation like possible. At night, I'm fucking tired. Nerd shit is very much interesting and approved. All right, thanks a lot, guys. As usual, when day is dark, always remember. Wait, where's that song I was playing? Always remember. Happy. Oh, by the way, before I say that, this is the link to the YouTube channel that had the music video at the beginning. Usually, I fucking play that shit. Usually I post that shit at the beginning so that anybody that saw at the beginning. I like to like start with like showing some music or something from like a small YouTube channel, because the algorithm just feeds me all kinds of cool small shit, and I will keep it that way. So there's this like I believe it's Russian. Yeah, it's like a Russian singer, kind of gothy, synthy shit, pretty cool. All right, guys. What is that? Shit, what is this doing? Sorry. As usual, when day is dark, always remember, happy day.